Yeah, and so again, I'm really happy to have Debbie Drennan here today. Ultimately, when we talk about inclusion, what are we really talking about? We're talking about being part of what everyone else is, being welcomed and embraced as a member who belongs within a community. And communities can be anything, right? They can be work, they can be churches, they can be sports, they can be schools, they can be playgrounds, right? They can be childcare centers, preschools. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Debbie.
Well, thank you. And that is truth. This is why, and so today I'm going to be talking about inclusion in early childhood, 0 to 5, and I'm going to be focusing in on universal design for learning and assistive technology tools on how to make that happen easily. And I think people will be surprised at how easy it can be and how inexpensive it can be. All right. So who am I? As Jennifer has said, I am an assistive technology trainer and consultant. I've been doing assistive technology for over 25 years, and I just started my own business about 2 years ago. And I do have my AT certificate. I have a certificate in early inclusion facilitation as well as a master's in social work. But I really am passionate about this early inclusion is through my children. I have 2 children, both are now adults, and my oldest son has cerebral palsy. And back in the day, he was one of the first children to be fully included in a typical preschool setting. And I truly do believe it was from that first experience that let him see that he did belong in our world. He, as an adult, he did belong. He was a valued member of society, because now even he lives on his own. He works a full-time job. He has his own life as an adult. And I do really strongly am passionate about it was early inclusion experiences that gave him the sense of belonging so that he could fight his way to get to where he was because he knew he belonged. And I really do believe that assistive technology tools and equipment is a really key tool to successful inclusion. So that's sort of my platform, if you will, and that's how I came to my platform. So that's what I believe. So today I'm going to kind of tell you, first of all, what is assistive technology and what are the laws regarding it for children 0 to 5, because there are some laws. I'm going to talk about what is universal design for learning. And I'm going to talk about how assistive technology fits into universal design for learning. And then I'm going to give you my top 10 tools for any early childhood setting, childcare, preschool, doesn't matter. These are my top 10 tools for any early childhood setting that I believe all childhood settings just have. Okay, so onward. To kind of reiterate what is inclusion, and I love this quote from Nicole Russell. Inclusion for young children is about creating environments in which all children feel invited to play and learn, to try and fail, and to love and be loved. And isn't that kind of the key? It's not just you have to go in and be perfect. You can go in and be you. And that is true inclusion for early childhood, because no one's perfect. And if a child knows they can try and fail and still be loved and know that they belong, you've done the right thing. You've got your job taken care of. You've done your thing. So this to me is the key. And I just love that quote because that's what it's all about. That to me is inclusion. But there's also some laws regarding inclusion. And one of them is the California Department of Education, their statement on early learning and inclusion. This is from 2019. And essentially it emphasizes that every student needs to have improved access to inclusive, high quality early learning and care programs for students with disabilities. Access to inclusive early learning opportunity. It's fundamental. Not nice to have, but it's fundamental. It needs to happen. So we have the California Department of Education saying, yep, needs to happen. We all agree. All right, that's great. So that's sort of an overriding thing. And then the other piece of it is, as we've talked about, is inclusion is belonging. All of the different, and this is for all children, all of the different puzzle pieces, all the different triangles need to be present, need to be there in order for a child to feel that they truly, truly belong. Not only is a child present, they have to be invited, they have to be welcomed, they have to be known. This is who you are, and accepted for who they are. They have to be involved, participating. They have to receive the support that they need to be successful. They have to know that they are heard. They have to have friends, and they know they need to be needed in that setting. These are all of the elements to belonging, and that's for all of our children. And where assistive technology really fits in this puzzle, in this circle, is in the involved, supported, and heard pieces. So that's kind of where I'm going to emphasize some tools for you. So what exactly is assistive technology? This is the law. This is Case Tech from Department of Education. It's assistive technology is any item, any piece of equipment or product system, whether acquired commercially, off the shelf, you customize it, you make it yourself on a 3D printer, anything that is used to increase, maintain, or improve functional capabilities of a child with a disability. But it is also a service. It's not just the thing. Assistive technology is also a service. And that's the service that will directly assist an individual to get the right tool for them. But it also includes coordinating with other therapies, coordinating with other services, training, technical assistance, implementing that tool in that child's life. That is also a part of the California Education Code. So it's a device, but it's also that service, which is often missed, right? So assistive technology in early intervention for 0 to 3, it's specifically for if you're working with children 0 to 3 with disabilities, it is specifically noted that one of the early intervention services is assistive technology. That is specifically mentioned in the law as one of the actually first services noted is assistive technology 0 to 3. Under 3 to 5, you've got IDEA, Education Code, IEPs 2004, requires us IEP teams to consider the assistive technology needs of all children with disabilities. So if you have a child with an IEP that's in your classroom, know that assistive technology needs to be considered for that child at every IEP meeting. Okay, so you've got some laws overriding all of this. And remember, it's a continuum. People think assistive technology, they immediately go to computers, right? iPads, high tech, but it isn't. Especially at these really young age, it can be very, very simple. It could be as easy as taking a wooden puzzle and putting big wooden knobs on it. So a child who has fine motor difficulty can do that puzzle. It could be as simple as taking photographs of different things to give them a chance to do visual choice making. It could be using Velcro, putting Velcro on the bottom of something so that it stabilizes that object so a child with a disability can grab it. These are all simple, easy things you can do. And of course it is the iPads and the computers as well, but it's also these simple low-tech solutions that anyone can really implement simply. And of course, the benefits of assistive technology and adaptive equipment for young children is it helps them participate more fully, right, in those activities and routines of a classroom or a daycare. It helps them play more successfully with the toys and their favorite objects, maybe with a family member, maybe with a sibling, maybe with the other kids in the class. It helps them communicate better, their wants and their needs. So people get to know who they are and what they like and what they don't like. And it helps them engage in those very important early literacy skills. So these are all very much the benefits of assistive technology and adaptive equipment for young children. So I kind of went quickly through the definitions of assistive technology and inclusion, the importance of inclusion. And I wanted to stop here and ask if anyone has any questions about sort of the overriding bits. of what is inclusion, what is assistive technology, how does it work? Just let me know, Jennifer, if there's any questions that pop up in chat.
I have not seen any in the chat,
Okay, very good. And anything?
but feel free to raise your hand if you have a
Yes.
question and we can unmute.
Yeah, just let me know. All right. So I'm going to keep moving forward from here, but I wanted to kind of stop there. That was a good stopping point. So now we're going to talk about universal design for learning. What is that? This is version 2.2. They're working on version 2.3. This is an ever-evolving tool for teachers. With the goal of the tool is that their goal is that the individual doesn't have the disability. The environment that they're in is what's creating a bigger disability for them. And so if you change the environment, you can make it so that all children can be fully included. I love that, right? So just change the environment and then you can include all children. And there's 3 different pillars to universal design for learning. And I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into each of these. But the first pillar is to provide multiple means of engagement. If you don't have the child's interest, nothing you do is going to matter. So you got to get their interest. You have to sustain their interest so that they sustain their effort in the task. And you have to provide options for self-regulation. That's on multiple means of engagement. And remember, this goes across all ages, K through 12, pre-K through 12. So these options for self-regulation are not just for our little ones, but also for our high schoolers. But you have to have multiple means of engagement. You then need to think about representation, multiple means of representation. How in my environment am I going to make it so that there's multiple options for perceptions? How am I going to display this information? Am I just going to say it? Am I going to say it and I'm going to show it? Am I going to show a video of it? How am I going to help my learners learn about this? How am I going to provide different language, maybe different symbols, maybe pictures, so they can clearly understand what I'm talking about? So that I also then provide different options for comprehension so that they understand. And then the third pillar is multiple means of action and expression, which means I'm going to provide options for physical action, right? I am going to maybe say, you can, color this in, or you can take pictures and glue them on so they can have that option available. I'm going to provide multiple options for expression and communication, especially in the younger ages where you may have second language learners coming into your class. You may have children whose language hasn't evolved to the point where they're able to fully verbally express themselves. It's really key that you have multiple options for expression and communication in these early childhood classrooms. And then you're going to provide multiple options for executive function. And you think, well, these kids are too young for that, but they're not. Executive functioning starts at 2. So you're going to help them sustain their interest, learn about goal setting, like keeping going until they've finished a task. That's executive functioning, right? So these are all different things that UDL guidelines kind of, when you think about the environment of your classroom and the lessons you create, these are just some different ideas to think about while you're creating those lessons and creating your classroom environment for your learners. So let's dig it apart a little bit. We're going to talk about multiple means of engagement with a goal here that expert learners are purposeful and motivated. That's the goal of providing multiple means of engagement. We want purposeful and motivated learners. So when you're talking about that, let's talk about how do you do that? What are some tools to consider? Remember, I'm an AT specialist. So some things to think about would be flexible seating for self-regulation, fidgets, again, for self-regulation, visuals for recruiting their interest, and visual schedules and routines. So let's talk about that. Let's first talk about flexible seating. Children were not meant to sit crisscross applesauce for very long periods of time. We know this. We are trying to teach them that skill. We want them to be able to sustain a sitting posture for learning, because that is still the expectation in kindergarten. However, most children at these young ages learn best with movement. So let's think about how can we incorporate that need for movement or support while they're sitting. And you can just provide some flexible seating in your classroom. You can use beanbag chairs to provide some extra supported seating. You can do what I call wobble cushions. Wobble cushions are great. They're little air pump things. They're relatively inexpensive. You can use them in yoga for balance and whatnot. You've seen them, but they have little bumps on one side, and you can set them on the chair or the floor, and children have a way to sit and then have a little bit of movement while they're sitting. And it's a really great tool. So just some different things to think about to provide those different flexible seating options. Just, think about how you have it set up in your classroom. Do you have other ways for children to sit other than just on the floor or in a chair? And maybe just throw in a beanbag chair, maybe get a wobble cushion or two. These would be great tools for your classroom or your daycare to have just for the child so that they can continue to sit and yet still be learning. So lots of fidgets. There are fidgets galore, right? We have more fidgets than we know what to do with. And you've seen, I'm sure, you've probably wondered, are they really useful? And the answer is yes. I know I talk with my hands you can't see it now, but I am fully talking with my hands right now. But for young children, they may not have that ability to just talk with their hands. So they may need to do something with their hands while they are trying to focus on something else. My favorite fidget currently is the bubble poppers, because those are very easy to clean and they're very hard to break. And you can get bubble poppers pretty much anywhere. They're fabulous little tools, but there's others out there. There are chair bands you stick on the chair legs of your chairs, and it gives children who need to bounce their legs something to bounce against, so they can fidget and move in their seat without getting up and moving all around the classroom. So there's lots of little fidgets that you have. When you're thinking about fidgets for this young population, you have to think about, is it easy to clean? And is this something that I have to worry about a child tearing apart and swallowing? So, be thoughtful about your fidgets. Some things won't work for this age group, but these are some great ones that do. Visuals, extremely important in every classroom. Visuals and even in the daycares and even in homes. I used visuals with my younger son. He has ADHD, and when he was young, I had a visual routine set up in his bedroom because he needed that to remember to stay focused to the task of getting ready every day. I got tired of being the screaming mommy, is what I would call myself, because he just couldn't stay on task to get ready for the day. He knew what to do. He just couldn't stay on task to do it. So with a visual schedule and a visual timer that he could see the passage of time, all I would have to do is say, where are you on your schedule? Your time, is it almost up now? And that would re-alert him back to getting ready. And I got rid of being the screaming mommy, which was fabulous for both of us. So these visual schedules can be super, super helpful for children. And then just putting visuals around the classroom so they know where things are. Where do I sit in circle? Where is the reading table? Where is the craft table? Just put a little picture on it. And that way they know what their choices are and where to find them, especially if they're a second language learner. These are great because they may not know the word in English, but they know, oh, right there, that's a book. That's where the book nook is. I'm going to go over there and look at books, right? So they know what's coming up. You can also do visual schedules for any rules you have, classroom rules, so that they can refer back to the visual of the rules. They don't have to remember it. They can see it when they need it. So there's lots of ways of using visuals. And it's really, really important in a classroom to represent what you're saying and what you're trying to get the child to do. And there's also, again, those very important visual schedules and routines. These are critical. And there's lots of free resources out there. I don't want you to think you have to go and make these. I think at the back of this, I have a bunch of resources I have found for you that are free. You just need to download them. And it's different icons that you can then put together to create these visual schedules and routines. So you don't have to spend money, just printer money, right? Just print and download, and it's accessible for you. And it's the visual and it's the words, and they're fantastic. And so you can have your visual schedule set up for your classroom or your daycare, but you can also set up a visual schedule for something like hand washing, so that you can put that in the bathroom so the children remember the steps to washing their hands. You can use that for toileting, the steps to toileting, right? So there's lots of ways of using visual schedules in your day, in your daycare, in your classrooms, at home. All of these different ways can be done. And many of them are already available free online. You just need to know where to look. And I always pair a visual schedule with a visual timer. Children, typically developing children, do not know what 5 minutes means until they're about 6 or 7. So when you tell a child 5 minutes, and then we're going to transfer to another activity, some kids you're going to see jump up and start run over there. And some kids, it's like you didn't say anything at all. And that's typical development. That's normal. But if you have a way of visually representing time, and there's lots of ways of doing it with hourglass sand timers, with lighted timers. I love the time timers where the red goes away, the time is up. Any way to visually represent the passage of time is critical at this age, because they don't understand. They don't have enough experience yet with time. So when you say 5 minutes, when the red is all gone or when the sand is all gone, that gives them a way of visually tracking the time, so that they can follow along and know when to transition to that next activity. So that was multiple ways of engagement. Multiple means of representation is the next thing. How do we give learners a variety of ways to gain access to information and to content? And some different tools to consider would be things like social stories, voice amplification for the teacher, and different voice output tools for the children who maybe aren't verbal yet, using story props and using manipulatives. So let's go into those just a little bit. So first we're going to talk about social stories. Social stories are fabulous. They're one of my favorite things for this age group, because these children are all just learning new things. They don't know how to make a friend yet. They don't know how to sit in circle yet. They've never done it. They don't have enough experience. So social stories are just a way to tell the children, this is what you will see, hear, feel, and experience. This is what we are doing. This is what you may feel, and this is how we want you to, what we want you to do. So that the expectations through their behavior is set up. This is how you do it. And there's free social stories out there. There's a great one on sitting in circle, circle time, about how to sit in circle and why you sit in circle and how it feels to sit in circle, and why, listening ears and watching eyes. There's some really good social stories out there for this age group. And I think it's just really important. I've created social stories. My younger son is now a music therapist. And I've created a social story for him for when he goes in with a new student, so he can use that social story to let that new student know, this is what is going to happen. This is what you will see, hear, experience. This is who I am. This is what I expect of you. So the behavior expectation is set up before they even get started. Fabulous, fabulous tool for these kids at this age. Really, really helpful. And personal voice amplification. This is great, not just if you have a student or a child in your class, maybe who has some hearing difficulties. These are great for those with attentional difficulties as well. Because these are personal voice amplification system. My favorite is by a company called Zoetek, Zoweetek. And these are the kinds of things you will see tour guides use. So you wear the headset, you've got the mic, and then you wear you can put the little mic voice amplification system, you can wear it, so your voice is just louder on you, or you can put it on a table. And this just amplifies your voice, so that when you as the teacher or the childcare professional is talking in class, Yours is the sound that is the largest sound for them to hear and focus to. It's a fabulous tool for all of them. And I love this tool. It's great. It really draws, especially if you're out on the playgrounds, it really draws the child's attention to you without you straining your voice. And so it's really nice. Just remember to turn it off when you go to the bathroom, because that could be a problem. So that's those personal voice amplification systems. Another tool to think about is, how is a child going to get what they want to say out? There's a lot of voice output devices out there that are simple. On the left, you're going to see a little child hitting what looks like a red button. That is called a step-by-step. And it's a way you can record 3 different messages on it. And it gives them a way of saying those 3 messages. And what I do with these to introduce them to a child is I have them sing repeated lines of a song, say repeated lines of a story, or do duck, duck, goose. These are all ways for them to learn to use that tool so that it becomes their voice. And then for those who need more, there's something called the Go Talk system, or the AbleNet has a bunch of systems now too called the Light Touch. And they both look very similar in that they're encased in a hard plastic, and you can pre-record up to 5 different levels of messages, so that you just change the page, change the level on it, and they've got a whole new set of messages they can then say in the classroom. It's a really great tool, especially for the young ages, because this can go out on the playground. This can be dropped and you don't have to worry about breaking it. They're fabulous. I've had a couple for 10 years and they're still okay. So really durable, really sturdy tools. And then most teachers and daycare already use story props and visuals when they're telling stories, because it's so important, right? Give the child a chance to act out what they're hearing, engage them by using some of these story props. And there's some free resources to get printables for stories. Story Kids is a great place to go, or Kids Story. It's a website, and if I'm saying it wrong, you can email me and I'll give you the correct links for that. But it's a great place. It has all the props already created, visuals, large visuals for all the different early childhood books you could ever want to read in different languages. All you need to do is go to it, find the book, print the story props, and then I always laminate everything. So really great resource for you. Again, free. And this is assistive technology for those who need it, right? You can also do large core word boards. Cough Drop is a company that has now created these large communication and core word boards that you can access for free. You just need to sign up for a free account, and then you can access their large boards, print them, laminate them, have them available. And that way those children who need access have all of the language they need available to them. Okay, and then manipulatives. For those, again, there's tons of manipulatives out there, but you can use all kinds of different manipulatives to represent numbers, to represent groupings, to represent colors. Give children something to do with their hands, so that they have that option to show what they know in this different way. Okay. And now we're going to move on to action and expression. We've already talked a lot of things like story props and manipulatives are great tools that a child can use to show that they've learned what they need to learn. They can use to say, okay, can you show me all the blue? And they can pull out the manipulatives that are blue. And then can you show me the hungry caterpillar, ate through this, and they can have that hungry caterpillar go through the apple. So that you can use that they can show what they know by using these different tools. But there's other tools out there as well. There's alternative craft supplies and drawing tools, as well as additional visuals. So let's talk about more visuals that you could use in your classroom. You can use visuals for book reading. And again, a lot of these are free online. You just need to type in the name of the book, write visuals, and you're going to pop up with a bunch that you can use. But you can also use visuals to have them available for different subjects, different activities, if you will. So you can have a visual for coloring with the different colors represented, and maybe have a glue stick and scissors if they're scissoring, and a pencil or a crayon, so they can then choose what they want to do pick from if they can't say the word, and then they can have those tools. So these are some different ways for them to show what they know. The other thing you can think about using is alternative craft supplies and drawing tools. Try Write is fabulous by Ticonderoga. It is a pencil that is triangular. It's in a triangular shape and nice and thick. So that teaches children, maybe who are struggling with grasping of the pencil, that tripod grip that you want them to learn using these Try Write pencils. But for those kids, there's also triangular crayons. So maybe they need something a little chunkier. So you get chunky triangular crayon that they can then use to scribble and experiment with on learning how to color. You can easily do slant boards as well. Slant boards are great. You can make your own, or you can buy them relatively inexpensively. And what they do, and we're all supposed to be using slant boards, right? But it puts things at that 30-degree angle, which is the ideal angle for children, for adults too, to be writing, drawing, typing on, right? This is the angle that is the best for your arm, your wrist, your shoulder, to learn to write. And it gives that extra support for those who need it through their elbow and shoulder. And also there's adapted scissors, like the pair of scissors you see here, they spring back automatically for you. So the child just needs to squeeze the scissors to get that cutting action. And there's other kinds of scissors out there too, depending on the needs of the individual. But there's lots of different adapted tools that you can put in your classroom so that all children can participate in these different activities. So I just gave you a whole bunch of tools really fast. So before I get into my top 10 tools, does anyone have any questions about any of Universal Design for Learning or the different tools I've already mentioned?
I haven't seen any questions in the chat other than
Okay.
wanting links to the specific sites that you mentioned.
Okay, yeah, you may have to, I
Kids
think I put,
stories out.
yeah, I think I put them at the end, but if I forgot to, I'm sorry, email me and I will get them
I'll
to
follow up.
you.
I'll make sure everyone gets
Good.
that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, because I thought, I don't remember if I did or not. Sorry. Yeah, but I will make sure you get that information because those are great tools.
Yeah.
All right.
So anyone with a question, go ahead and, oh, I see a hand raised. Go ahead, Liliana.
Okay, got it. Sorry. Okay, just a quick question. Very good tools, and thank you so much. I'm a provider, and I'm trying to see now. I just find out it's like I have a kid who has certain kind of disabilities, but is not professional seeing anyone yet. Okay, so I'm trying to deal with whatever I can do, and that's why I just jump in on this matter, because I really think that this is my first time, and I really think that he needs a lot of help.
Right.
Now, for me, that I don't have that kind of experience or support from the mother or the doctors, telling me, okay, this is what is happening. What do you consider will be the best way for me to trying to adapt certain things for him? Because at this point, I don't know yet if it's visual or if it's, auditive, or if it's something that he needs to handle, like you see all those examples that you just show up on the screen, like the 30 grades to ride, the tree ride, all those things are very good tools, but how I don't want to buy or, all those things, which will be the best way for me?
What I would start with is figure out what the abilities are that this child has, and then where the struggles are. And then start with kind of figuring out, okay, the child is really good at these things. The child is able to follow a 2-step command, or maybe they can't. Maybe that's where you start. And so you kind of figure out, where do you want to start in terms of exploring tools? And then let's say the child really seems interested, and you have to go with where the child's interest is. The child's really interested in let's say coloring, but just can't seem to get it right. That's where you would look at, okay, maybe I can look at some big fat crayons that other kids in my class can use as well, but I'm really going to buy them and let him try them first to see do they work, and then I'll just have them available for all the other kids in the classroom. So you're not spending a whole lot of money, but you're just trying to have something for this child, but then it's something that the other children can use as well. That's universal design, right? Like that's trying to make it so that it's universally designed for all children in the classroom. And then the other thing you could do is if the parent isn't, I don't know if you've had the conversation yet, the difficult conversation, but there are, I know there is on the, I think it's the Parents Helping Parents e-learning website for providers, is how to have that difficult conversation with parents that, hey, you know, here's something I'm noticing. Have you talked to your doctor about it? What do you do at home? And there's a whole training on that. And I think Parents Helping Parents website has that in their e-learning section that you can take a look at how to have that conversation. Because yeah, you might find, especially just ask the parent, what do they do at home? Because they may already be aware the child is struggling in that area, and they may already, oh, this is what I do. Oh, okay. And then you can know where to start. Okay. And then I think Karina.
Oh, you saw that? Okay. Yeah.
And then Karina, you had a question? Yeah.
There's a question in the chat too that I'll.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I just was curious because I'm an OT, and by the way, thank you. You've shown some of my absolute favorites.
I'm not done yet.
The mini loop scissors, the wobble cushion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the slant board. So anyway, I wanted to know because we don't have Board Maker, and it used to be that I would always access Board Maker. So is Cough Drop the new place to get?
Cough Drop is for communication boards, lesson picks.
What
lesson picks
and the difference, like how is
okay.
Cough Drop different from Board Maker? Thank
okay
you.
So Cough Drop is specifically for communication systems, communication boards.
Oh,
so it's like AAC, right? But
it.
lesson picks is $36 a year subscription, so it's cheap. But lesson picks is for creating all those visuals. LESSONPIX for those who aren't familiar with it. And I'm probably saying that way too fast, and I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Something else to write down to email me about. But it's $36 a year. They give you 2 months trial.
Okay.
So you can try it out and see all the different things on there. I use lesson picks.
Do they also, well, I can look at it later, but do they also have like photographs or?
You can import your own photographs.
That's very cool. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Good question.
And there was one other question in the chat, which was for voice devices and any kind of assistive technology, if it's in the child's IEP, will the school district provide to families for free or through their insurance?
The school district is mandated to provide any assistive technology tool that is specifically listed in the IEP for free under FAPE, free and appropriate public education.
Yes. Kind of mirrored what I put it in the chat there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, perfect.
So there you go. They will only ask for medical insurance 0 to 3.
Thank you, Debbie.
0 to 3 because the regional center system runs a little differently. 0 to 3 regional centers are the funder of last resort. They will ask for the family to check their medical insurance first. And then if it doesn't pay for it, then they will pay for it.
Thanks. And let's see, someone said, where can I see that information, the e-learning lesson picks? Can you? Yes. Okay. So this is one of those links that we will make
website links. Sorry.
We'll make sure to compile everything and send it out. Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
All
no
right.
other questions that I can
I'm
see.
going to move on. All right. I'm
right.
going to move on to my top 10 tools for any early childhood setting. And I've already talked about the first one, visual schedules and visual routines. And here are some links. Good. I did put some in. Thank you. I go to teacherspayteachers.com. And what you can do in Teachers Pay Teachers is you set up your free account. But then I always check for free resources. I put in hand washing routine, free as the price. And then I filter it. And then I get all the different free visual hand washing routines that I can choose from and download and print. So I love using Teachers Pay Teachers for that. But the other one that I found recently, and this isn't free, it's called Schedules. SCHKI, well, it's on the website, it's on their thing. I don't have to tell you, but Schedules I really like because it comes with, it's about $75. It is a magnet board that has, on the one side, it is where a place to put your schedule. And on the other side is a place to put working for behavior plans and charts, on the other side. And it comes with all the icons you already need, and it is cleanable. So it's not Velcro, it's magnet. So you can take a wipe, don't soak it, but you can wipe it clean. And again, when you're dealing with early childhood, things get messy. And so I really like that because it already comes with everything you need, and they're pretty big, and you can individualize it or you can use it for a whole classroom easily. So I really like schedules for that. So that's one place to get visual schedules and visual routines. And as everyone knows, routines are super important at these early ages because they need to answer 3 questions. What am I doing now? How do I know I'm making progress? How do I know when I'm finished? And then what comes next? So a good routine will answer those questions for the child and the adults who are working with the children, right? And there's many different routines in an early childhood classroom or daycare. And this is straight off of a webinar I did last year about the different kinds of routines in a day. There's your core routine, which is, enter the classroom, maybe have breakfast, maybe have beginning circle, maybe go into activities centers, maybe go outside, whatever your core routine is. But then you have activities within an event in that core routine. So maybe at breakfast, you have the children, part of your activity is they get their plate, they get their food, they sit at their chair, they've washed their hands, whatever the routine is, the activities within that event. And then sometimes there can be a routine within a routine. So if you're having breakfast, maybe if you have them wash their hands before they have breakfast, you have the routine of hand washing. So do you see all the different routines that you can really think about in an early childhood day? And the benefits of routine is, and here's another example of large group routine. So you have your daily schedule, you've got your story circle. In the story circle, you have the activity of actually reading the story. And your story routine is you're going to cross out a prop, you're going to introduce the title, you're going to talk about the author or illustrator, you're going to read the book or do a picture walk or read it out, act the story, and then you're going to collect any props if used. So do you see how you can have routines within routines within routines? And the importance of routines in early childhood is that it makes the child feel secure and comfortable, to know what is expected so that they can free themselves and of stress so they can actively learn, become engaged in that activity if they know what they're doing, what is expected, and what is coming next. Super, super important. And for many families, I worked with early childhood providers a couple of years ago, and one childhood provider said, having a family implement a visual routine for their young one was life-changing for them. It really changed how the child and the parent were able to interact. So it's not just for childhood classrooms or child care, it's also for home. Very, very important. And I've already talked about visual timers, so I'm not going to dig too deep into them. But time timers, I've talked about. They do have, if you have an iPad access, the Time Timer app is still free. You can just download and use the visual timer on your iPad. And of course, sand timers are fabulous. And you can get a bunch of different kinds at Lakeshore Learning for relatively inexpensive. Okay, again, passing of time. Adapted storybooks and props. I did put it on here. Oh, good. So, okay. So where do I talked about this as well. Kids Club, KIZCLUB. That's the one I was talking about before, where they have all the different early childhood stories. And all you need to do is go online, go to their website, type in stories, type in the title, and see if they have the props available for you to download and print. Fabulous resource. Also, Teachers Pay Teacher has a lot of them. And a website called autismlittlelearners.com has a bunch of adapted books for special education with story props as well. And of course, you can create your own, but I'm all about, making your life as easy as possible, right? So there's some different storybooks and props. And the idea with these is you're going to use the props as you tell the story. And that way you're going to then encourage the children to use the props to tell the story back to you. So it's a two-way street. So that they're engaged because they're using a prop, and then you can then turn around and use the prop to help them show what they've learned, that they heard you, that they understand beginning, middle, end. Fabulous, fabulous tools. And then when you're talking about stories, representation matters. There's lots of stories that you can do about children with disabilities that you can have available in your classroom. You can also have dolls of different colors and different abilities and disabilities in your classroom. So when you're thinking about the kids in your classroom, think about how we can make sure that they are visually represented, not just there by their presence, but that you've included them because they belong, because there's a picture of somebody their color in the classroom. There is a book about a child maybe who uses a walker in their classroom. There's, different, because children see and notice these things. I'm sure you've all seen the ad, the Target ad, where the child is using a walker and there's a child using a walker standing in front of that ad with his mouth wide open, right? It really means a lot to these kids to know that they belong. And so this is a simple way of including those children so they feel that belonging. Social stories I've talked about. Oh, good. I did include links. The one I was talking about, and what do we do in Circle? That is from challengingbehavior.org. It's a resource there. It's fabulous. But other places to get social stories include Book Creator, where you can create your own social story or language experience story. Autism Little Learners is all a great place to get social stories created as well. And one of my favorites is andnextcomesl.com. They have a ton of social stories on there about friendship, about new situations. Fabulous resource, and they're all free for you to take and download and modify to meet the needs of your classroom, your child, your situation. So great resources here on social stories. The other thing I really like in early childhood classrooms is the idea of using colored tape for colored labeling, color highlighting, and differentiation of space. Going back to my younger son who has ADHD, we use color tape because he didn't understand the boundaries of space. He would happily sit in your lap as sit in his circle time. He didn't understand. He had no concept of body and space. That's part of his ADHD. So we would set up little colored tape boxes for him. So we would do yellow tape, or actually his color was purple. Purple. He would sit in the purple tape box. That was his box. And when it was time for desk work, we had the purple tape differentiating his area of the desk from the other students' area of the tables, his area of the table from the other students' areas of the table. So he knew that was his area. And then the teacher saw how well that worked for him, so they used it for others in the classroom as well. So kids who needed it had their own color. But the other nice thing about color masking and color highlighting is you may get a child at some point who may have a visual difference or a cortical visual impairment. And what you can do is you can use colored tape to highlight the edges so they can see better. It could be yellow or red, tend to be the favorites for colored tape masking for children with cortical visual impairment. But if you highlight the edges of the door, if you highlight the edges of their cubby in their preferred color, yellow or red, they can find their own cubby and develop that independence in the classroom. And it can be really, really helpful. I know of a young woman who wasn't diagnosed with cortical visual impairment until she was 16. Her mom always thought it was funny how she would have to physically look down before she put her foot down off a curb, that she always had to look and see where things were and put her hand out to kind of touch and feel her way around. But she had good vision. That wasn't the issue. She had cortical visual impairment. So her mom highlighted her door, her dresser, and suddenly she was independent in her room. And it was amazing. I was like, that makes sense. So just know that it really can make a difference in a person's life. And I've already talked about flexible seating options, so I'm not going to dig too deep into these, but it's really important to have these available in your classrooms, in your childcare, so the children can feel comfortable so that they can learn. Slant boards I've talked about, and lots of different places to get slant boards. Make your own too, with a 3-inch binder and a clip. But also simple positioning tools There's the website, MissJamieOT.com. Uses, you can go on her website and you can find out ways to use pool noodles. Cut up pool noodles on a chair to give something to bounce against, to give support to someone who maybe needs extra support in their chair so they can sit back and be more comfortable in their chair. Yeah, so there's a lot of different tools for simple positioning. And if you go to the website, Miss Jamie OT, you can find some inexpensive ideas on how to use pool noodles. Okay. The other tool that I think is really important is to think about having some different adapted writing and coloring utensils and scissors in your preschool childcare settings. And there's lots out there, but I'll say these are my favorites. One is the palm grasp crayon or the large triangular crayons. For those kids who just don't have the grasp yet, it still gives them that experience of coloring and helps them develop that fine motor of grasp, right? So that's a really good early one. And they're just crayons, right? Really simple to do. I've already talked about the Ticonderoga Tri-Write pencils, and I've already talked about the scissors that come back. They also have finger crayons. So maybe you're working with someone who's got a physical disability and they're tight and they they have a difficult time. Their hands are always fisted. Well, maybe you want to try a finger crayon with them on one of their fingers, and they can try coloring with just a finger and see if they can do that. So that's another option that's available relatively easily on Amazon. But what I really like are these foam grips. They're fantastic. You can get these on Amazon, really cheap. And they have 3 different size holes that you can use. And you can put these foam grips on pencils, crayons, spoons, toothbrushes, anything you can think of to give an extra way of doing it. I'm looking for mine now, but they're not within my reach. And they can then grasp onto something bigger so that they can actively participate and show what they know and color and do. These are great. I really like these in the classroom. Okay. And visual icons I've talked about. I do have the Lesson Picks website on here. Yay! That's a great place to get visuals for stories, for routines, for boards, for learning. Really good place. Globalsymbols.com is a free resource for you as well. You can go on to globalsymbols.com and type in the symbol you are looking for, and it will pop it up for you. And I really like global symbols because it is culturally sensitive. You've got symbols representing all the different cultures. Like if you're talking about a woman, you've got women in hijabs, you've got all of that available to you on globalsymbols.com. And I really appreciate that in Global Symbols. So that's a really good resource for symbols. There's also Project Core for core word boards. I talked a little bit about that already, but having a core word board in your classroom is really important for those kids who don't have the verbal abilities yet to fully express themselves. So these core word boards, usually there's 36 words on them, and you can have a small one at one page, and they also have available, a whole big one that you can download and print and put together. But it has those core words on it. So when you're talking about going in, you can show them the symbol for going in to visually represent the word as you're talking about it. And these are just really nice tools to have available for you. And again, Project Core, you just need to download and print. And Lesson Picks, I've already talked about, lots of stuff on there. Free trial, 60-day trial, really nice tool to have as well. Okay. Finally, the absolute critical thing that every home childcare preschool should have is a calming area, or what I call a vacation corner. And I don't like to use the term calm down area. I'm kind of moved away from that because I don't know about you, when I'm upset, the worst thing my husband can tell me is to calm down. It doesn't help. I just get more angry. So I always like to call it the vacation corner, or the cozy spot is another really good way to talk about it. And with that, you're going to have just a little cozy corner that you're going to set up in your home, and it could be under a desk. It could be just in a corner of the room, away from the door, away from everybody, where some child who is just overwhelmed with emotions can go and have things they can use to help calm themselves down. And it could be, you could have things in there like stuffed animals. You can have things that they, one of those spinner things that you blow and it spins, because you're going to help them work on deep breathing. You're going to have maybe a calm down routine that you printed and put up to help them learn how to calm their body. Maybe you're going to have calming cards and calming strategies with stretching and breathing and maybe stacking objects, maybe a book, just sitting with a quiet book. These are just some different things that you can think about putting in your cozy corner or your vacation corner when kids get overwhelmed with all those big emotions. And I've seen kids come in, and I'm sure you have too, where they've had a rough night. Something happened at home. You don't know what it is. And they come in and they're already overwhelmed. And they go straight for the cozy corner, and they just need to check out for a while. And that's perfectly fine. In my book, they know what they need, and they're taking care of themselves. You just check in on 10 minutes and say, hey, how you doing? Can I get you anything? Do you want some water to drink? Are you ready to join us? So give them that chance to have a cozy corner. Okay. And if you're not sure, like if you have like you were just talking, the one person was just saying there was a young child in their class that they weren't sure what to do. These are two great resources for you, Pete's Suite and Kara's Kit. These two tools, Pete's Suite is $35, Kara's Kit is $30. These tools help support a child's physical environment, UDL, an assistive technology journey, birth to 5. It gives you ideas of how to modify the environment based on the needs of the child. And it comes with a USB, and this is why it's $35, a USB as well of additional resources that you can access. Kara's Kit says no USB, but what it does is it says, okay, the child has low vision. I want them to be able to do this. Here are some different things you can do, going from modifying the environment all the way to a specific assistive technology tool for that child. And in this kit, it's a really great resource as well. So I really like these two resources if you're working with the kids. How am I doing on time? Great. So now I am open to more questions.
Yes, and we have one question in the chat.
Yes.
She says, as a specialist, what would you recommend for a quality home daycare? How many assistants or teachers in a family home daycare with 12 or 14 children, different ages? If we have a few children, like 3 or 4 with special needs?
Well, I think you have to go by what the state regulation is for childcare homes. And I think it's 1 adult per 6, I believe, is the state regs. I'm not 100% sure on state regs. So I think it's 2 adults for 12 is required. So you have to start with a minimum, right? And then beyond that, it becomes more of a discussion you have. If you have a child with a disability that is the family is interested in having their child in your childcare, and you feel like that child may have needs that would require an additional adult, that's when you go to the IEP system, or actually you go through the IFSP if it's 0 to 3, and say, look, this is what we're looking at. This is what they want to do. They want to do full inclusion. Is there any way you can help us make that happen with an inclusion facilitator, for example, to help that child be fully included, and then fade out the extra adult support? Sure. And I wanted to put up my contact information if I don't get to a question, or like you said this, it wasn't on the list. Where do I find it? Which I do. So Karina, you had a question.
It was just that. How do I find those Amazon things? So I'll
email me.
Email you.
Email me.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Because I have lots of questions.
And I missed the first couple of minutes.
Yes.
I mean, I don't expect it, but is this some of your slides available for reference?
I think Jennifer
Yes, I
yeah.
had put that in the chat too, but yes,
Okay.
I'll be sending out the slide deck to attendees.
Right.
So that's the English slide deck, and then the Spanish slide deck I had put in the chat, but I'll be sending that out as well.
Thank you so much. I don't know, that's the whole slideshow with all the links and everything?
Yes.
Thank you. That's very generous.
Yeah. Hey, why not?
Appreciate it.
Liliana, you had a question?
Yeah, it's just I remember that you mentioned something, website or a link, I don't know, that it will help us to read how to talk with the parents.
Right. That is on the e-learning part of the website, www.php.com. That's Parents Helping Parents. I gave the presentation, so that's how I know it's there. And if you go onto their e-learning website and type in and look through their early childhood area, they have it by category. You should be able to find that. If you can't find it, email me and I can send you the direct link.
And I can put it in the email I send out to everyone too.
Okay, good.
I'm making
Good,
it.
good. Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions popping up?
Una pregunta.
Ah,
I have a question.
I
yes.
have a question.
Go ahead.
Do you have a website or so
Right. Yes.
where I can check, because there's a lot of research right now about like special needs, yeah, but like I can see the statistics or why the last 45 years it's in more special needs in the classrooms, daycares, like where we can have more information about this, what is causing like all these more more and more is coming. I can see in my daycare before I can have just one special needs, but right now sometimes it's 3 or 4. It's somewhere we can have more information. It's some information like in the internet, but I would like to know where it's more accurate information.
Right. Okay. I can tell you locally, I don't know what area you're located in. Where are you located? What part of California?
In Santa Clara, San Jose, California.
Oh, you're perfect. The San Jose Library System offers for childcare providers a training they do. It's a year-long training for childcare providers on inclusion and how to do it. And you can ask all the questions you want. And it's a great group of people. It's run through the San Jose Library System. And I believe they meet once a month virtually, or it used to be virtually. I don't know if it's still online, but it's a great resource for you. So I would suggest you check the San Jose Library website and look for the early childhood child care piece of it. If you need exact name, if you look around the website, you don't find it, email me and I'll get you the exact name of that program. I've done presentations for them before. They're a great resource for you.
Any other questions for Debbie?
I've stopped sharing. There we go. Okay. Well, I think if that's everything.
Yeah. And thanks for
Fabulous.
joining us.
All right. Thank you, everyone.